We're ashamed of you, utterly, completely ashamed of what you've become. My mother announced at Christmas dinner, then threw her head back and laughed like she'd just delivered the punchline to the world's funniest joke. But the enrollment letter from Harvard Medical School in my pocket, and the real reason I'd been working 3 jobs wasn't what would make her cry. It was what I was about to reveal about where her mortgage payments had really been coming from. The dining room fell silent except for the crackling of the fireplace. 22 family members sat frozen around the table, their forks suspended midway between plates and mouths. My younger sister Bethany smirked behind her wine glass, while my brother Lucas suddenly found his mashed potatoes fascinating. "Did you hear me, Natalie?" Mom continued, her voice dripping with contempt. "Or are you too busy daydreaming about your pathetic little life to pay attention?" I carefully set down my fork, my hands surprisingly steady despite the rage building in my chest. 4 or 5 years, I'd endured these dinners, these public humiliations, these calculated cruelties. But tonight was different. Tonight, I had nothing left to lose. "I heard you, Mom," I said quietly, reaching into my pocket. "And you're right. You should be ashamed." She leaned back, satisfied, ready to continue her performance. Finally, some self-awareness. "You should be ashamed that you've been stealing from Grandma's estate for the past 3 years." The words hung in the air like icicles ready to fall. Mom's laughter died in her throat, her face cycling from red to white to gray in seconds. "What did you just say?" Dad spoke for the first time, his fork clattering to his plate. I pulled out a manila folder I'd hidden in my coat. "Should we start with the forged signatures on the withdrawal slips? Or would you prefer to discuss why Grandma's been living on bologna sandwiches while you renovated your kitchen with Brazilian marble?" "How dare you?" Mom started to rise. "Sit down, Margaret." Grandma's voice cut through the room like a blade. She'd been quiet all evening, but now her eyes were sharp as flint. "Let her speak." Everyone turned to look at Grandma, who'd been sitting at the far end of the table, supposedly too senile to follow conversations anymore, another one of Mom's lies. "I work at the bank," I said, opening the folder. "The same bank where Mom has power of attorney over Grandma's accounts." Imagine my surprise when I saw the transaction history. "This is ridiculous," Mom sputtered. "I would never." "November 15th, $45,000 withdrawn," I read from the statement. "Same day you bought the Mercedes." "December 3rd, $30,000. That's when you and Dad took that cruise to Europe." Should I continue? Uncle Theodore, Mom's brother, snatched the papers from my hands. His face darkened as he read. "Margaret, these are Grandma's accounts. This shows over $200,000 in the past year alone. It's all legal." Mom shrieked. "I have power of attorney. Mother needs care and..." "Care?" I laughed bitterly. "Is that what you call dumping her at my apartment every weekend while you go shopping? Is that what you call forgetting to buy her medications because you spent the money on your book club trips?" "You're lying," Bethany chimed in, but her voice wavered. "Am I?" I pulled out my phone, scrolling to the photos I'd taken. Here's Grandma's empty refrigerator from last month. Here's the past due notice for her electricity bill. Here's the eviction warning for her apartment, the one Mom told everyone was paid off. "You went through my things?" Mom's voice had gone shrill. "No, I went through Grandma's things when she called me crying because she had no food and no heat in December." I turned to the rest of the family. "Did any of you know she's been sleeping on my couch for the past 6 months because Mom rented out her apartment on Airbnb?" Gasps erupted around the table. Aunt Patricia covered her mouth in horror. Uncle Theodore's face had gone purple with rage. "Mom," Lucas said slowly, "you told us Natalie refused to help with Grandma. You said she was too selfish." "Because that's what she does," I interrupted. "She makes me the villain while she commits elder abuse and fraud. 3 jobs, that's how many I work. Not because I'm a failure, but because I'm supporting Grandma and trying to save for medical school." "Medical school?" Dad laughed harshly. "You're a bank teller." "Part-time bank teller," I corrected, pulling out the Harvard acceptance letter. "Part-time EMT. Weekend pharmacy technician. All to pay for Grandma's care and save for tuition. But sure, tell everyone how I'm the family disappointment." Mom snatched the letter, her hands shaking. As she read it, tears began streaming down her face. "This is, you got into Harvard?" "Full scholarship for academic excellence," I said. "Turns out when you're not spending your energy being someone's emotional punching bag, you can actually accomplish things." "But you never said," Bethany stammered. "When would I have said it? During the part where Mom calls me a failure?" Or when she's telling everyone I'm an embarrassment. Or maybe when she's laughing about how I'll never amount to anything. Grandma stood up slowly, using her cane for support. I knew, she said quietly. Natalie told me everything. She's been protecting me, caring for me, loving me while my own daughter robbed me blind. Mother, you don't understand, Mom began. I understand perfectly, Grandma snapped. I've been playing along with your senile old woman act because Natalie asked me to. She wanted to gather enough evidence to stop you without destroying the family. But you've destroyed it yourself. I pulled out more documents. These are the bank records going back 3 years. Every transaction, every forged check, every lie. My boss at the bank helped me compile them. We were going to handle this privately, but since you want to publicly shame me, let's make it all public. Please, Mom whispered, tears flowing freely now. Please don't do this. Like how I begged you not to humiliate me at every family gathering? I asked. Like how Grandma begged you to let her stay in her own home. Like how I begged you to just once be proud of me. We are proud, Dad started. No, I cut him off. You're proud of Bethany for marrying rich. You're proud of Lucas for joining your law firm. But me? The daughter who survived your neglect, who built herself from nothing, who's going to Harvard Medical School while caring for the grandmother you abandoned. I'm the shame of the family. Uncle Theodore had been reading through the documents, his expression growing darker with each page. Margaret, this is grand larceny. This is federal fraud. You could go to prison for this. Mom collapsed into her chair, sobbing hysterically. I didn't mean we needed the money. Robert's business was failing. So you stole from your mother? Aunt Patricia asked, disgusted. And blamed Natalie for not helping. She was always so independent, Mom wailed. So cold. She never needed us. I needed you every day, I said quietly. I needed parents who loved me. I needed a mother who didn't see me as competition. I needed a family that celebrated my victories instead of resenting them. But you were too wrapped up in your own insecurities to see that. What happens now? Lucas asked, looking between me and Grandma. Now, I move in with Natalie permanently, Grandma announced. She's already set up a beautiful room for me. As for the stolen money, she looked at Mom with steel in her eyes. You have 2 choices. Return every penny within 30 days, or Natalie and I press charges. Mother, Mom gasped. You're no daughter of mine, Grandma said coldly. Natalie has been more of a daughter to me than you ever were. She sacrificed her youth to care for me while you spent my money on yourself. I stood up, suddenly exhausted. I'm taking Grandma home. To our home. The rest of you can finish dinner and decide if you still want to associate with someone who steals from the elderly. Natalie, wait, Bethany called out. I didn't know. Mom always said you were jealous of us, that you refused to help. And you never once questioned it, I said. Never once wondered why I worked 3 jobs if I was so selfish. Never once asked for my side of the story. That's on you. As I helped Grandma gather her things, Mom's sobs grew louder. How could you do this to me? At Christmas? In front of everyone. I paused at the doorway, looking back at the woman who'd given birth to me, but never bothered to mother me. You asked why you should be ashamed of me. I gave you the answer. You should be ashamed that your daughter had to become the parent you never were. That she had to protect her grandmother from her own mother's greed. That she achieved everything she has despite your cruelty, not because of your support. I'm sorry, Mom cried. I'm so sorry. No, I said firmly. You're sorry you got caught. There's a difference. As Grandma and I walked to the door, family members began choosing sides. Some surrounded Mom, offering comfort. Others came to us, expressing shock and support. Uncle Theodore promised to help us recover the stolen funds. Aunt Patricia hugged me and whispered that she'd always wondered why Mom's stories about me didn't match what she observed. In the car, Grandma took my hand. You know, dear, I'm not sorry this happened. Grandma. Oh, not the theft, she clarified. But the revelation. You've been carrying this burden alone for too long. Now the truth is out and you're free. She'll never forgive me, I said, surprised to find I was crying. Do you need her forgiveness? Grandma asked gently. Or do you need to forgive yourself for not being the daughter she wanted? I thought about it as we drove home. Our home, the small apartment I'd worked so hard to maintain. I think I need to forgive myself for trying so hard to earn love that was never available. Harvard will be lucky to have you, Grandma said. As am I. You saved my life, Natalie. Literally and figuratively. You saved mine too, I admitted. Having someone who believed in me, who saw my worth, that kept me going. My phone buzzed with messages from family members. Some apologizing, some asking questions, some taking Mom's side. I turned it off. No regrets. Grandma asked. One, I said. I wish I'd stood up for myself sooner. But maybe I needed to reach this point, accepted to Harvard, financially stable enough to support us both, emotionally ready to let go. Your mother was wrong about one thing, Grandma said as we pulled into our apartment complex. She said she was ashamed of you. But the truth is, she's ashamed of herself. You reflect everything she could have been if she'd chosen love over greed, support over sabotage, family over facade. That Christmas dinner marked the end of something. The end of seeking approval from people incapable of giving it, the end of accepting shame that was never mine to carry, the end of sacrificing my truth for family harmony. But it also marked a beginning. The beginning of my medical career. The beginning of an honest relationship with family members who chose truth over comfort. The beginning of a life where love wasn't something to be earned through suffering, but something freely given and received. Mom's tears that night weren't just about being exposed or facing consequences. They were the tears of someone realizing they'd pushed away the very person who would have moved mountains for their love. The daughter who worked 3 jobs to care for the grandmother they'd abandoned. The daughter who got into Harvard despite their discouragement. The daughter who told the truth when everyone else was content with lies. She was crying because in trying to shame me, she'd revealed her own shame. And unlike her performative emotions, those tears were real. As Grandma and I decorated our small Christmas tree that night, I felt lighter than I had in years. The shame had never been mine to carry. And now, finally, I'd given it back to where it belonged.